And if it's stuff that, hey, look, I'm not worried about the HVAC guy. I'm not worried, hey, the civil in this portion of the plant, that's contaminated soil probably. There's 50-50 shot. That's the stuff I'd really dive into. And if you wanted to look at it on the side, if we, you ever want to show the schedule and we could go through it, I'd say this is how I would do it. And you might have some ideas that bounce off of that. But, 10,000 monster, people can't even speak to it except for the scheduler, right?
Right.
Whereas there's a level at which you can get people to where they're going to give you the input you need. So, yes, sir.
What I've seen done and what I've done before was in case of providing schedule information for the risk analysis is maybe sometimes I've actually create a separate schedule, to feed into the first master, to the PRA or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Or maybe just select some of the items in the approval pad, like long lead items or things like that, or ISOs or something like that.
Create a one-off schedule, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And only be used just for the risk analysis.
You can do that as well. And you just have to look at it time-wise. What's more fit for purpose? Is it better to create that summary schedule, or if I have to do it monthly, is it better to spend the time cleaning my schedule up and coming up with some kind of roll-up strategy with the main one? So there's a lot of ways to attack it, but if you can get something repeatable and fast, but where everyone who gave you the inputs understands exactly what went into them. Now, instead of telling me the answer's wrong, you can't tell me the answer's wrong. Tell me which one of your inputs was wrong. And if you do it in a statsy way, that doesn't work. But if somebody told you, hey, these foundations are going to be a month or two late probably based on what we've got going over there. Okay, well, you said they're going to be a month or two late. That's not a statsy thing. It'll shoot out some statsy graphs, but it's telling you those foundations are the issue. Okay, can we do anything about it? So, I think as long as my main thing is the stats part and the back end stuff, you can simplify as much as possible. There's still maybe some difficulty with 10,000 line items. We got to have a good strategy that's repeatable, but we got to get people to buy into it so they don't think this is coming from, we didn't go to the witch doctor.
Of course. So your program, is it Janice?
Yeah, so our company is PRC Software, so we've got...
So your software, I use P6, so would P6 dump into PRC? Do you guys take a data dump?
Yeah, they speak to each other beautifully. They're like best friends.
Okay.
You do, there's different tools we have. We'll show them just a bit. We didn't want it to be too salesy. We definitely would show it to you on the side too, but we have a risk register that speaks to stuff so you can link risk to the schedule or WBS items. We have Monte Carlo type tools where you would take in the P6 or the Microsoft project schedule, and then from there, it helps you kind of get those strategies together to where 10,000 items becomes a doable thing in there. So we've actually got 4 different tools. It's a risk suite. So we have the qualitative risk management, kind of, is it going to happen and how bad? And then we've got cost statistics.
That was my next question. So the cost, how does that, is that information, we have, the estimator would have to feed into, along with the schedule to your PRC?
So we have...
Right, so that's where Janus, that's where our software comes in, right?
Okay.
Because Janus is an estimating and a forecasting tool. So that's where PRC and PE4U really have a lot of synergy, because to your point, when you're going in at the line item level or cost element level, you have to tie that back some way to an activity or something, right? So that's where you would go in, just like you did with the estimator, they would go in and detail it by line item, and then we're able to push that to PRC to where they can risk it.
Okay, and that's where you see the ROI.
Yeah, all along the actually just doing the process, because the more you do it, people don't do it well either on Monte Carlo analysis, because they only do it once every 6 months. Well, you never get good at it. And you think, well, it costs a ton of money if we do it every month. Well, actually, it becomes a really fast process when you do it every month. People are good at P6 because they use it every day. It's easy to learn something you do every day. I got good at risk because that's what I do every day. But if you can just do that process on an ongoing basis, you know, but the risk register and some of that stuff, you don't necessarily need a stats analysis every week, but you should be reviewing it. So this whole process to me is continual, you know.
I'll ask you a couple questions. You said you got 2,000 lines.
It's probably more.
There's probably more. Now you have a lot of large scale projects. As a credit director, manager, those type of things. I know that it's unreal for one person or even 2 or 3 people to handle that size of schedule. And if you're throwing it all into one schedule, you're actually, that's a risk in its own self, because you get lost in the minutia of all the interconnect. You already know what's next. You've got to break it down into sub pieces and have those speed up so that you have different pieces at different levels that have the right number of inputs so that you can actually realize and really look at what that data is. Otherwise, it's a 10,000 line schedule that all this ties them together. It's basically just a bunch of stuff there. Nobody really knows what's going on. Nobody really knows what's critical. You have a critical path, but how close is 15 or 1,500 other line items that critical path? And if you don't really can't understand that, then you can't really do your risk analysis right, because you're not really understanding that a 2-day slip on one part all of a sudden creates a whole new critical path for your project.
The system is like, it's a continuous living system.
All right, now, is it being fed in by SAP or Oracle or any of those type of things when you get a lot of data from that? So there's those systems already running and you've got people managing those inputs and how that flows. Okay, and you've got a lot of data in, but you have a hierarchy up, right? So you can actually close down your schedule and talk about, hey, engineering is going to be late.
Exactly.
Right?
I have it, well, I have it in work packages, advanced work packages, engineering.
And who does each of those updates?
I do.
So one person's trying to update 10,000 line item schedule.
Actually, I have, there's a team, we have different teams that updates, and then we have someone that looks at the overall schedule.
Well, yeah, somebody has to do the topical schedule. You know they call that a 10,000 line item schedule. How many different schedules roll up a day? So your topical schedule maybe only be 100 different tasks. So each of those tasks then have 100 tasks underneath them. Each of those 100 have another 100, right? So really, your standpoint, you're looking at the upper level schedule, you're looking at maybe 50 to 100 tasks. And you have that type of grouping, then, okay, it's not too bad. Because then you can start driving down your risk and also your risk profile in each of the areas and where they go.
Yes.
We'll try to really understand the bigger picture.
In areas, it's.
All right, I just want to make sure that if you're trying to just manage a 10,000 line item schedule with maybe 4 or 5 subsets, you're in real trouble.
There's a trade-off between creating so many dependencies that if one thing goes off track, the whole thing goes off track, as opposed to a plan that might be a little longer, but you have separate subtracks that don't have less interaction. So there's an optimal, because that allows actually better mitigation if you do have a problem.
Well, actually, education issues, and trying to work those sub-areas.
One other question I have is, can you put in some, like a custom risk profile, for example, you mentioned using Monte Carlo, but experience may tell us that, for example, one vendor, they quote 10 months for a compressor, they're always 1 to 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same, so you bias that, and you represent that in your, in your number.
Yeah, and you can do, there's different ways to skin the cat too, because we do have a cost Monte Carlo product only, where it's just, you're estimating numbers. We have a schedule Monte Carlo tool. Well, you could take that and actually cost load your schedule in P6, then you get a cost load of Monte Carlo. Or I could put it in the risk register and say, I know these guys are going to be 1 to 3 months on the critical path. Even if I don't tighten the schedule, but I know it's a critical path item, do you believe me that that's going to cause a 1 to 3 month slip? Yeah, it sounds logical. Did I need a Monte Carlo for that necessarily? Maybe not. You know, some of it is common sense, you know, but showing people in that way. So we do some creative things like that as well to accomplish it. So. And then when we get to this portfolio type of a thing, if my vendor that's going to be a problem, and I'll try not to name anybody, but I'll just grab one out. So hopefully nobody from Honeywell's watching. But say I'm getting a DCS system. if they're on, and they always do a good job, but if I had 4 projects using Honeywell, and I said, you know, I've got a risk that says Honeywell on 3 projects, but I'm running a portfolio. Maybe there should be some synergy between how we do that. And then when we talk about a portfolio level, when I get a lot of times the same project, you know, every project is managing the same type of risk or the same vendors separately, so they're getting no synergy. Whereas if it's in a database and you're seeing it, and it's like, wow, I've got 15 risks. Why don't we escalate this up and have somebody who's a direct contact relative to that and work on that as an organization? Because everybody could be spending $1 million a project to mitigate it, whereas we look at it and if we can see that it's affecting everyone, now we manage it together. It's the same thing. If I see 8 people are coming from Katy and they all have big risks on drive times, if I get that shuttle bus and put it down I-10 or, you know, West Park Tollway or whatever we're going to do, now all of a sudden that risk kind of goes away. So like, if I didn't know 8 people were coming from Katy, I wouldn't even thought to do that. Yeah. This is the portion of the show where we hit technical difficulties.
Time for the hand puppets.
Yeah, oh, it is on the risk register. You just can't see it because everything blew up. We did start a little bit late. We'll probably run about 10 minutes late. We're almost towards the end here. If anybody wanted to grab a last refresher as well. I think this was supposed to be till 7:30. Sorry for running late, but I know the traffic was unpleasant. Was that the end of the slide deck?
No, you got, yeah, the math workshop.
Yeah, so just plug me in here.
Okay. All right, so, my door here. Oh, there it goes.